Hello and welcome back to the Delve podcast. I'm Allie. I'm a staff therapist here at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
And I'm Adam. I'm the Executive and Clinical Director at Delve Psychotherapy of Chicago.
Help us spread the word with this podcast. We're not trying for fame here. We don't plan to run any ads. We just want to add value and be helpful to as many people as possible. So if you find value in this podcast, please share with at least one other person.
Yeah, and try to get us international to intercontinental. We've got a couple of people from abroad, but we'd love to have some more.
Yes, we want to hit every country. We offer at Delve individual, couples, group, and family therapy. So if you're interested in a consultation, reach out at delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. If you like the topics we're chatting about on the podcast, then you'll love our Substack. That's where we have all of our blog posts. That's at delvepsych.substack.com. Check it out.
Absolutely. And looking at our international roster so far, we've got some Russia, some UK, and some Canada.
All right.
That's a start.
I knew about the Russia and the UK, but I didn't know about the Canada. That's new. Yeah, we keep expanding.
There we go.
Okay. I know, listeners, you like when we do Reddit questions, and we're back around to that time again. So I have another Reddit question for Adam
and we should also probably acknowledge that we're likely going to have to do a slightly shorter episode today. We've got a couple of constraints and travel plans and things of that nature. So forgive us for shortchanging you a little bit this time around. We'll probably do a couple shorts, and then we'll be back to our normal format after that.
Yeah, it'll just be a little mini-sode today, but still chock full of good stuff.
We'll try to talk faster.
We'll speed it up. We'll have it at 2 times fast. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Okay. So this Reddit question, the title is, ever feel like you'll never be good enough? So this Redditor asks, do you ever feel like nothing you do will ever be good enough? I'm trying. I'm really trying. Career/finances and love/companionship are the most important things to me right now. And I don't have them because of my mental health, because of who I am. I'm putting in the work. I feel like I'm improving, but it's never enough, and mistakes from my past are thrown back in my face. Do you ever feel like nothing you do will make you a good enough person?
Oh, this one's heavy. I think I might want to nitpick some of the language here, even though we said we were going to go a little faster. Career/something, and then love/companionship.
Yeah, career/finances and love/companionship are the most important things to me.
And then they said they're putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
I think a few things stand out to me. I think we're still pretty outcomes focused when we're talking about it in these ways. It's difficult to stop being outcomes focused, and maybe we all are outcomes focused from time to time, but it's not as if starting your career or making it far in your career or establishing your finances to a certain degree or finding love and companionship is the end, right? You very easily could lose all your money, get fired from your job, end up having an entire industry be taken over by some other, institution. You could lose the love of your life. All of these things could happen. And I think we start to get hyper-focused on getting it, such that we struggle to live our life while we are in pursuit of it. And I think that's such a integral but challenging mentality to get into, and hell, I get caught in it from time to time. I think we all do, where it's just sort of like, can't I just have the thing? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Can't I just have it and be sure that it's there and it doesn't go away? No. And I think what's so maddening about that, devastating about that, is the constant confrontation that we are constantly pitted against our own emotionality around uncertainty.
Absolutely. I have so many different thoughts on this, but just from what you said, yes, I think we're very outcomes focused. And again, I know we talked about, I think a lot of that comes from just the society that we live in. Society a lot of times judges us based on, you know, what we can put on paper and say that we've accomplished, or how many dollar signs we can put next to our name. I agree too. Like, for a lot of people, I know one of their goals in life is to get married, which is great. Like, that's great to have as one of your life goals. But a lot of times they don't think about what happens after. And like, the start, getting married is not the end, it's the beginning.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to have to continue to confront all of the major challenges of our life while we are scared, while we're heartbroken, while we're confused and lost, while we're broken. That's still life. We just have to keep living it. And that's one of the most devastating challenges, I think, of psychology, is that we are in a constant battle with those things, with temporary reprieves along the way.
Yeah. Life is gonna life.
Yeah.
Between all of this. The big thing that stood out to me is I think this person is telling a lot of stories about who they are, what their worth is. I don't have these things because of my mental health. And that's also just identifying themselves as their mental health. That's a story in and of itself. Like, because of who I am, saying like my mental health, which is who I am, is what they're saying, is why I don't have the career I want, the finances that I want, the love and companionship that I want.
I think that's really well spotted and really well stated. What would you say is the problem with? We should explain, like, what is the problem with identifying with a mental illness in that particular way? Saying like, this is me, in that kind of all-encompassing way, and it explains why my life is the way it is.
It doesn't allow for growth. And also, I hate to say it, but I think identifying with the mental illness and saying things like, well, that's just who I am. I am this way because of my anxiety, or because of this. It almost kind of makes an excuse for it, and doesn't. I don't know. I don't know how to articulate that. It keeps you in that box. What do you
Well,
think?
they are saying that they've put in the work. So how do we square the circle in them saying, I'm doing work, I'm putting in the work, but I'm still held back because I've got this mental illness? And so there's sort of that duality of it. There's that element of like, almost I'm cursed by this thing, but I'm working on it, but I still don't get anything. And I should get something. I should get these things because I'm working on it, even though I'm cursed.
Right. They even say like, it's never enough because mistakes from my past keep showing up and keep being thrown back in my face. So it's like, they're saying no matter how much maybe they feel like they are in therapy, or they're working on self-improvement, they feel like they've grown, the maybe mistakes that they made in their past, or things they're not proud of in their past, or, you know, hard, tough times that they might have gone through in their past. It seems like they're saying those things are still held over their head, and they can't grow into the person that they want to be. Or maybe other people can't see them in a new way, in a new light.
Yeah, well, and I think part of the way that the past can come to affect us is, firstly, I mean, we're going to be triggered by our past in some form or fashion over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the inevitabilities of psychology. Whatever bad has happened to us is going to come back. It'll affect the way that we view the world. But specifically, the way that it starts to affect what we're doing is through our behaviors, through our actions. And if we are choosing certain actions that are contrary to our broad goals, needs, and values, that's the area where the past starts to affect the present.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we would say, it's mediated by your behaviors. What are we actually doing? And so it's not a big deal for you to be triggered by your past. It sucks, it's painful.
Yeah.
But that by itself doesn't do anything. And it's not a big deal for those triggers to lead to heavy and hard emotions and thoughts. It's heavy and it's hard, and it can be internally very devastating, but it has not, pardon my French, but fucked up your life in any way at that point. If I'm feeling bad and I'm thinking in ways that aren't necessarily all that comfortable, I still haven't done anything that's going to affect my life. And one of the core ideas from even from CBT, but we've expanded in the Delve model, is the idea that these different domains of psychology are more usefully thought of as interrelated, but that they can be broken apart into their constituent pieces. So your thoughts are not your actions are not your emotions are not your identity. And if we can kind of break them into their pieces, then we've got individual pieces to deal with. And I could have heavy emotions, I could think hard thoughts, and I could still do things that move me in the direction of my goals, my needs, and my values.
But Adam, the feelings are so strong. How do I fight against them and do something in the direction of my goals, needs, and values when all I want to do is just be in bed all day?
Well, we did that goals, needs, values exercise. And again, I shouldn't kid anybody into believing that any of this is easy, but all I want to do / all I'm driven to do automatically and reactively is lay in bed all day. Those aren't your goals, needs, values. And so the choice is to continue to pursue your goals, needs, and values, even when it feels bad and even when you don't feel like it. It's entirely possible that you could have the same bad day, the bad day that goes, you wake up scared and alone, devastated and overwhelmed, but you still kind of pick at the things in your life that kind of represent the things that you ultimately want or need in your life. So you just sort of dabble with them a little bit. None of it feels like enough, but you just dabble in it anyway. Mm-hmm. And you go to bed still, ruminating and still just distressed and overwhelmed, and maybe even struggle to sleep, but you dabbled. And I think over time, those things, one, pay off, and two, generally speaking, are going to feel better. Being able to dabble like that really does make us more purpose-driven. Right. And I think that's the challenge. It's just because you're thinking, just because you're feeling, just because you want, just because you're reacting, just because it feels like so much, does not mean that you have to stop acting in a purpose-driven way.
Absolutely.
And I think it's kind of interesting. I'm sorry, I'm going to pull back the curtain here a little bit and talk about you and I today. I think we both mentioned that we were not in the best moods today. And then we had some tech issues that we had to troubleshoot. And I think there's an element to which neither of us really want to be doing this right now. But we're doing it. Why are we doing it?
Because it's important to us. Yeah. And I'm feeling better already as we're going through this episode together.
Right. It's not like it's all gone. It's, there's still the stuff there, and maybe we're still frustrated and we'll carry a little bit of that. But can we start to engage in the actions that really represent the way that we mean to live our lives? This is something that Delve and you and I have committed to and are trying to do. And sometimes we need to encourage each other. And there are times when, I actually don't know if you know this, Allie, but there are times when I was having just a god-awful day. And it was really just your energy that lifted me up and helped me to be able to do this. On those particular days. And so sometimes you look out for me and sometimes I look out for you, and we get there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, well, we boys hide our emotions, don't we?
I want to get to the core of, so they started this question with this statement, and then they ended it with this statement of, do you ever feel like nothing you do will make you a good enough person? And I just think there's a lot there, because it, first of all, pointing out that this person identifies as not a good enough person.
I want to take a slightly different tone and say, yeah, sometimes. I can't remember who said this recently. Oh God, I wish I remember where I heard this, but it was really recent. Never forget who would envy the circumstances you're currently loathing.
Wait, say that one more time for me.
Never forget that others may envy the circumstances you're currently loathing.
Mm. So that's sort of like downward comparison.
Yeah, that others might be thrilled to be in the position that you're in. And here we are having gotten used to it and beginning to downplay it. So enough ends up being something of it's a narrative, it's a judgment. And it's probably relative to certain ideals that we have in our head, but the brain has a remarkable ability to just get used to whatever it's already thinking. Or it has a remarkable ability to get used to, how do I want to say this? It has a remarkable ability to get used to its present circumstances, fold those into its cohesive narrative, and then continue on constantly striving for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
Right. And kind of
Just,
forgetting like where you came from before.
yeah. So I know of somebody in my family who really nailed things with respect to their career and then finally found their love and their companionship. And I was talking to them the other day and they're like, fuck, man, I'm bored. But you have
Yeah.
it all. You got it all. Bored.
Yeah. It's always the next thing and the next thing. And it's hard for us to see perspective of like, wait a minute, like this is like I imagine this person, right, having feelings of like not being a good enough person, not being good enough. I can imagine this person once they've met some of the career goals they have for themselves and maybe they find themselves in a loving long-term relationship. They probably will still feel like they're not a good enough person.
And maybe the more useful way to do this is to say, okay, fine, today I am not a good enough person. But firstly, that is an internal narrative that I am assigning to myself. It's not in any kind of external way. That's not relative to anyone else's views. That's me. I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And fine, I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to not be good enough today in my own eyes. But remember that that is a momentary assessment. That's just right now and that's just today. And you're allowed to have a different view tomorrow. Whether you do or you don't, it's up to you. And also that no one else is assigning that to us. And if they are, you probably shouldn't be listening to them anyway, because that's a mean thing to do.
Yeah.
And that at the end of the day, even that narrative that we have in our heads still has no effect on the actions we choose unless we choose to allow it to.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully said. And I like what you said about, because at the end of the day, it's this person is putting that up upon themselves of what they believe to be a good enough person even is, because that's subjective too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And comparative.
right. I'd be curious what this person's definition of what a good enough person is. And if we were to survey 100 people, I think the answers would be vastly different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel for this person.
Me too. I will caution very quickly before we move on. I think sometimes the idea of putting in the work is that I've gone to therapy, I've thought about it a lot, I've felt it a lot, I've maybe journaled a lot, I've talked about it a lot, I've incited a lot. The work is feeling it and making a choice in the direction of your goals, needs, and values. You do not need to feel better while you do that. You don't like solve the problem, then start living your life. You live your life while you're struggling with this problem and making those choices in the direction of your goals, needs, and values. The choices themselves may sometimes feel like absolute garbage. And you might feel like absolute garbage at the same time. And you might be running with the narrative that you are not enough while you are making the choices that move you towards your goals, needs, and values. You might be on the floor, complete detritus, at the moment that you are doing the work. But doing the work is feeling those emotions and acting in accordance with your goals, needs, and values as best you understand them in the present moment as often as you can. Thinking it and insight and figuring it out and talking about it is not the work. Doing is the work. And you have to do so painfully.
Yeah. And yes, something that has always really stuck with me is like, you don't wait to feel better to do the thing. You know, you do the thing, because maybe then you'll never end up doing the thing, because you'll never end up feeling good enough to do the thing. I will tell you, I didn't wait to feel better to start recording this podcast today. So.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we just both dived in and we're just sort of like, let's do it. It'll be what it is. Feel bad, do it anyway.
Right. One last thing that I think I'm curious about, because it seems like they're saying that their past mistakes are thrown back in their face, maybe by family members or past partners or whoever in their life. And I guess I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on, like, maybe we're a person that we have made some mistakes in our past. We engaged in some unhealthy behaviors and maybe damaged some relationships. But we have been in therapy. We are doing our best to do the work, to actually do the work. And we see a difference in ourselves. And we do feel like we are experiencing some level of growth. But like the people from our past who knew us before still kind of view us in who we were in the past.
Yeah.
And sort of like cling on to that. They still view you as the alcoholic. They still view you as the dropout. And you can't seem to break free from that and show them who you are today, the new and improved version of you. I don't know if you have any thoughts or advice on handling that.
We should probably bookmark that for a whole episode because it kind of gets at this idea of constructivism. In brief, constructivism is essentially like in psychology, the idea of constructivism explains the ways in which people within a system will sort of get locked into certain roles and expectations and are resistant to change, not willfully, not consciously, but just in terms of just, again, like neuronal efficiency. If I've got a model in my head, I'm going to go with that model. And so, Jimmy's the fuck up is a fine enough model, and we can roll with that. It takes a lot to overcome. I think boundary setting is really important here. I think re-narrativizing is really important here. But also probably some degree of acceptance that it depends on who the person is that you're whose mind are you trying to change, and how likely is it to change, and are you sure that you need that person to change their minds? Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
No, I think that's wonderfully said. Yeah, we'll bookmark that topic for another time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for delving into that Reddit question with me. Now we're going to switch gears to the quote behind your head.
Yeah.
They said, "I'm sorry," but they didn't apologize. Ooh! I feel like this is so relatable to so many people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so many people are going around saying "I'm sorry," but they are not meaning it.
Yeah, it's a thing to say. And I think I've mentioned on here before, if not, I'll say now, that when I'm working with couples, I by and large teach them not to apologize. I teach them that understanding is so much more powerful. It's not about apology.
That also blew my mind when you talked about that, because I think so many times clients will be like, I really need, in order to move forward in my relationship with this person, I need an apology from them. And you were like, do they? No, they don't. I was like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, like this person really hurt my client, and it would mean a lot to them and heal the relationship to get that apology. But you were like, well, what if the goal instead was for the other person to just really understand where the other person was coming from and the ways in which they were hurt? And I was like, you know what? That could be just as powerful.
So in one case, I'm sorry, I hurt you. You shouldn't have been in that situation, and I imagine that was really painful for you. Okay, that's a pretty good apology. On the other hand, I say, so let me make sure that I get this. When I'll hearken to the example that we were playing around with yesterday in a little fake vignette. When I decided to schedule to go to a baseball game instead of your family function, it really felt to you like I was invalidating what was happening in the relationship and what's really important to you. So knowing that that's really important to you, and knowing that showing up for family functions, especially important family functions, is a way of honoring you and the things that are important to you, really helps me understand how to show care and express love and affection for you. Now, you don't need to be that articulate. You don't have to get it with that level of completeness. I do that to be illustrative. But if in general, it's like, shit. So if I don't show up to your dad things, it's sort of like I don't care about you. And they say, yeah, got it. Anytime that sort of thing happens, I ask the client, like, do you still need that apology? Every single time, 100% of the time, they say, no, I don't need it. I think maybe once I had a client go jokingly be like, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but but at the same time, you could clearly tell that they were feeling better and joking.
Right, because I think at the end of the day, all we really want is to be heard and understood.
Get it and give a shit.
Get it and give a shit. Yes. If you do want to apologize to someone, we were just talking about this in our staff chat. And I can't take credit for this. This is the words of Colleen Paul, one of our therapists. She said, if there's two parts to an apology. Number one, genuinely saying and feeling sorry. And two, actionable change. And I loved that. And I told her I was going to bookmark that for my clients. And I guess now on the podcast here, because I think it's so true, because I think a lot of times we forget that second step of the actionable change.
Ooh. And I will throw on our list of future topics the nonlinearity of change.
Ooh, I'm intrigued by that one.
Yeah.
And I agree. So like a way too that I've noticed people saying I'm sorry but not actually apologizing is, I'm sorry that you felt.
Right. Yes. I'm sorry if
Yes. These are fake apologies. They're masquerading as actual apologies, but they are not.
That's what we mean. That's what we mean. They said I'm sorry, but they didn't actually apologize.
Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed this little mini-sode. As always, if you're interested in working with us, reach out for a free consultation at delvepsych.com. That's DELVEPSYCH.com. And please do check out our Substack. Lots of great blog posts on there at delvepsych.substack.com. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks so much, Allie.
Thank you.